What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. So have you ever been watching a movie? You're like a little kid and you're watching a movie with your mom and dad, and there's a scene with nudity in it, a sex scene, or a really gory scene, a lot of cursing and blood in it, and they jump over and grab the remote. Fast forward. You can't see that, little kid. And maybe you're justified, right? I have little kids. I don't want to expose them to all this type of smut and trash, and I certainly don't want that. So I totally get that, right? I totally get it. But what if, like, that happened with, like, your buddy or your spouse, and you're, like, both adults? Like, what if that happened and you're sitting there chilling and your buddy, like, grabs the remote? It's like, you can't see that. I'm going to protect you. You'd be like, off, dude. I'm an adult, all right? Like, chill out. What is this nanny state situation going on here? And the nanny state, of course, is something that the left loves. They love being able to control what you can and cannot see, be able to literally mind control you. And it is why there is a brand new and shocking phenomenon that is occurring where the media companies are deciding when and where to broadcast the words of Donald Trump. Now, let's separate the fact that Donald Trump is former president, the Republican frontrunner, and inarguably one of the most famous and culturally dominating figures to ever exist, right? This is what it looked like today. Very rare, where Donald Trump's reaction to the Supreme Court ruling 9-0 and devastating the left was being covered live by everyone, right? Look at that. Donald Trump, sort of like a clean sweep across the board. So much so that Team Trump was tweeting all eyes on President Trump. This was, of course, naturally a problem because Libs decided that in 2016, when they used to do this, that was a bad idea. In fact, going wall-to-wall coverage on Trump, which you may recall when he was first running for president, actually helped him win because people loved his messages. And so it's why before every Trump event on some of the more hysterical, fascistic channels, Nanny State, remember the remote control, Nanny State channels, they have to give you little disclaimers before Trump speak like this.
This is a decision that we revisit constantly and that we will revisit constantly, but tonight we're expecting Trump to speak momentarily. We are going to go to those remarks to see how he uses this moment, at least at first. We'll see how it goes. Again, this is a decision that is one that we consider to be an open-ended, live decision. Let's go to Trump headquarters right now in Nashua, New Hampshire.
This is Donald Trump winning in historic fashion the New Hampshire primaries. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the censorship, the nanny state, and more importantly, the insult to their audience, which is really what this is all about. They don't think their audience can take it. They think so little of their adult viewership on MSNBC that they've decided that they're going to censor Donald Trump, that they can't handle it. They're like your buddy grabbing the remote and being like, you can't watch that sex scene, or you can't watch this gory scene in the battlefield, Braveheart, whatever. You're not allowed. Okay, we're going to see how it goes, but we got to stop in the fast forward button here just in case. Well, they did it today with Donald Trump speaking about his victory in the Supreme Court, his dominating victory, in fact. A hysterical moment here from MSNBC where Katie Tarr decided to fact check Donald Trump live on air and then to cut away from the remarks.
It has to be free. A president has to be, if the president does a good job. I did. Some people would say a great job.
Okay. The White House has not had any coordination with the DOJ on the prosecutions regarding Donald Trump. This is totally separate. It's a special counsel. The special counsel decided to bring charges. In terms of the Fonnie Willis stuff, I believe that Nathan Wade testified he was making more money before he started to work for Fonnie Willis down there. Let's go back to Gary.
So here's what's interesting. During her fact check there of Donald Trump, Katie Shore literally spreads disinformation. How do I know that? Because I read the New York Times. The New York Times fake news? Check this out from the New York Times. Garland faces growing pressure on January 6th investigation widens. The inquiry is a test. President Biden and Attorney General both came from into office promising to restore the Justice Department's independence. Oh, man. This from the New York Times says that Mr. Biden confided to his inner circle that he believed that former President Donald Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted, according to two people familiar with his comments. While the president has never communicated his frustrations directly to Garland, he has said privately he wants Garland to act less like a ponderous judge and more like a prosecutor who's willing to take decisive actions in the events of January 6th. Oh, man. So Joe Biden's not going to pressure his attorney general to make these decisions. He's just going to vomit it into the pages of the New York Times with a giant headline and a giant image of Merrick Garland. It's so good. Oh, yeah, Katie Tur. No, it's totally independent. Fact check. Gotcha. Oh, man, it keeps getting better. Like, MSNBC has on-air salty meltdown, cuts away from Trump's remarks just to and mule. What are they saying instead of listening to the president? What more important thing would you have to do than listen to Donald Trump? Just speak live, right? Whether you like it or not, it's going to be important. It's newsworthy. But instead, here's what MSNBC decided to program.
Come out with a prepared statement. Why this? Why going back to the battle days of Trump, where he just comes out with a word salad and whatever comes to mind and whatever allegation he can toss out?
That's a great question, Katie, and one that I'll be trying to answer today. Donald Trump has displayed more discipline over the course of this campaign than some of his previous ones in these moments. Not really what you saw here today. Clearly not a prepared statement. Clearly not especially focused on the ruling today. But I think goes to the point that he sort of looks at all of these cases holistically, and he tries to argue that they're all related. He's trying to make the case that somehow this is all coordinated by the White House to go after him, and taking advantage of the fact that he's going to have a lot of eyeballs on him because of the Colorado ruling today. But this is it, right? I think you heard there one of the things that I think was most clear was related to a point that Ken made earlier, this idea that arguing that he shouldn't be prosecuted for things. He didn't mention any of the things related to January 6th. He was making a case that he shouldn't be prosecuted for going after ISIS or General Soleimani, the Iranian general who he killed when he was president. Those are not the things that he is being prosecuted for. So trying to project out a little bit of, protection for himself rhetorically as these cases advance, and trying to draw people into the idea that somehow all of these things are part of a massive conspiracy to stop.
Oh, yeah, they're not part of a massive conspiracy to stop Trump. No way, they're not. You just have both MSNBC and CNN cutting away from Trump's remarks after this historic Supreme Court 9-0 devastating victory for Trump. No, it's not a conspiracy at all. We're just not going to let the man speak. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Watch, here's CNN doing the same thing.
Okay, we've been listening to Donald Trump, and we're going to continue to monitor as he takes questions from reporters there in Mar-a-Lago. We have been hearing him first and foremost talk about the fact that he is obviously very pleased about the Supreme Court decision to keep him on the ballot or prevent Colorado from taking him off the ballot, and therefore other states as well, because of the actions that he was involved with in and around January 6th. Then he veered into lots of other areas where we definitely have to fact check. Daniel, I want to first just say the last thing he was talking about, immigration, which of course has nothing to do with the Supreme Court decision today. He said a number of things that I hope that you get into, one of which was 20 million people he believes are in this country. We don't have any evidence to back that up, and going on about the need for the president to use his executive authorities to, quote unquote, close the border. There is an antiquated immigration system. Congress, in a bipartisan way, in the U.S. Senate tried to update it at least a little bit, and it was killed because the president did not want to give Joe Biden that political win.
No, not a conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. Not a conspiracy at all. We just have our little remotes, and we just punch, stop, fast forward when we don't want you to see something, like Donald Trump being victorious, like Donald Trump speaking truth. We just, in fact, Instead of that, we're going to call this a dark day for America and say that America lost today.
You know, look, unfortunately for America,
for
the court
America.
isn't necessarily wrong that this is the way the framers wanted it to be. They wanted Congress, the people who are closest to their constituents, to be able to make the rules and the laws.
Unfortunately for America, the framers came up with Congress, says Dana Bash. So smart. So bashingly smart. What else on CNN? Let's go ahead and fast forward ourselves. What else does CNN have to say about this ruling?
You say to all those Americans out there who are watching this, who are frustrated and say, you know, Trump is getting away with breaking the law, that he files appeal after appeal. He tries to delay every proceeding that's brought against him in a way that is just, it just goes against what our judicial system should be about. I mean,
What, is this guy like Kingpin? Like, who's he interviewing here? He's interviewing Kingpin from Daredevil. I mean, it's a bold move to book Kingpin for a like rule of law judicial segment, but let's listen.
just about anybody else would not have the ability to appeal things until kingdom come.
Well, actually, they do have the ability to do that. That's part of our justice system.
Well, but for
I
all
do
practical
think that
purposes, that doesn't happen. I mean, the vast majority of defendants out there
yes,
don't
but
have
you're wrong
don't have
about
the
that, right?
resources
So
to
these are-
drag everything out in umpteen different cases across the country.
So Kingpin actually just bodies Jim Acosta. Look at his face. He's like, what am I doing? Who booked this? It's who booked this. The best is the Colorado Secretary of State, who just straight up admits the game. Well, now that the Supreme Court has struck us down, the voters will get to decide.
The reaction is disappointment. I do believe that states should be able, under our Constitution, to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists. And ultimately, this decision leaves open the door for Congress to act, to pass authorizing legislation. But we know that Congress is a nearly non-functioning body. So ultimately, it will be up to the American voters to save our democracy and no.
Speaking of a non-functioning body, like, whose face moves like this? You're an animatron. There's no way. You're not real. You're not real. So this is the Secretary of State of Colorado. This, whatever this is. And apparently this humanoid, I think this is possibly one of Elon Musk's robots that's in beta testing right now. Apparently, this lizard with a skin suit on. There you go. That's the one I want. What is this? What the hell is this? What is it? Get out of here! Get out! Whatever that is. That is a non-functioning body. I can tell you that for certain. Ladies and gentlemen, final thing I'll show you is a non-functioning brain. Okay? And for that, we go to The View.
I had far too much hope that the court would be united in this and not overstep in favor of Donald Trump. And I think what we saw was a court where justices that behaved in a partisan manner, and that disappoints me.
Oh, okay. It disappoints you. The justices that were put on the court by your Lord and Savior, Barack Obama and Joe Biden, like Kagan, Jackson, and Sotomayor, who all voted in favor of this 9-0. Keith Olbermann, final little cell phone here. Keith Olbermann going after the Democrat justices, saying they have proven themselves inept at reading and comprehension, and collectively the court has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. But it was Keith Olbermann himself that dissolved his own personhood by admitting that he likes to pee on his own face. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, to this screed, this Twitter account says, cry more. Keith Olbermann says, those aren't tears, fascist. They're urine. I'm sure you enjoy being bathed in it. But he's saying that Keith Olbermann's crying, which he is. And Keith Olbermann's saying that he's not crying, he's peeing. Or it's pee on his face. Keith Olbermann pees on his face. I don't know. I don't know. But the meltdowns have been glorious. they have been rather salty, whether it's pee or tears, both salty, ladies and gentlemen. And it's been a delight to watch. Remember that we trust you. So we'll give you the news. We'll give you our opinion on it, right? We do have ideas and opinions around here, but we will never like censor it for you. We'll never like interrupt and start screaming because we don't like what's being said or whatever. Like we will gladly play a full Joe Biden speech, right? We'll have comments about it. We'll think it's funny. We're not here to censor it for you. Like, how evil is that? How much do you disrespect and hate your audience if you are censoring for them? Some of the biggest news ever. You just clearly despise your audience. And, well, I don't think they're going to survive. I mean, you can see it in the ratings. The audience knows that. And so then they turn to other channels. And, well, we're happy to have you. Like, share, and subscribe. It's your boy, Benny. Stay based. See ya.